Hi, and welcome back to my channel. Today I am doing another whip and chat, and I am sitting at Train of Dreams. Now, usually I will try to do a whole book via Kindle text-to-speech while I work on this diamond painting. However, yesterday I started Cobble Hill Purple, and I struggled to go to bed last night because I love that puzzle and I really wanted to dive right back into it this morning. But I said, no, let's keep up with the same routine and make a little progress on this gorgeous diamond painting. So then the next thing I said, well, what do I want to talk about? And I thought of a simple word, which is process. Processing triggers, although when I talk to my therapist, he's really good at making me go backwards, so to speak, to see why any particular situation affected me. And in retrospect, I wish I had thought more about some of my conversations with him, because I looked something up. You know, we all have, a lot of us have a friend in common, and that friend is Mr. Google, okay? So I went to Mr. Google, and I simply typed in processing after emotional triggers. Yeah, just, that's all I put in my search field. And the reason that I wanted to look that up and even talk about it here on this video is because I mentioned that I burned some bridges, and that does not sit right with me. And you can't help but think, at least I can't help but think about Jesus and his relationship with the apostles and some of the things he went through before he died. And when I think of him, and I think that of the scripture that says Christ left us a model to follow closely, then it's my job to follow that model as closely as possible, which means being kind to my fellow man. So how do I accomplish that? Well, the first thing I wanted to do is talk about 8 simple strategies to help you identify, manage, and heal your emotional triggers. The first thing says figure out your big 3. All right, so what are my big 3? Okay, and I'm bringing up the article, and I'm sorry, just give me a second. I got an ad. What are the biggest triggers for me? And I know what they are, and I'm not going to enumerate them, but what are they and how do they impact the next thing? Okay, so I'm going to repeat this. We all have dozens of triggers, and some of us have very powerful ones that head the top of the list, right? So if I can narrow this down to where it affects my personal relationships, then it might help me to be a better person, and it might help me to learn from my experiences. I'm looking for the letter K. For some reason it's acting all invisible. Why am I not finding the K? K is grayish. This is weird. It's taking okay, there we go. There we go. So, back to this intriguing article. Now, the next thing is, after we identify the top 3 triggers in our personal lives, and that's a very personal thing that everybody has to answer for themselves if they deal with bipolar disorder like I do, or PTSD like I do, or come from a traumatic past. We have to know what affects us and how to get past whatever it is that affects us. The reason that it's important to me is I don't like damaging relationships. And I know I've done that. So, the next thing would be to understand what comes right before a reaction. What is being said that triggers an emotional reaction? And if we can identify this, and I'm speaking mostly of myself, of course, because I'm trying to process. Remember I said the word of the day for me is process. So, what comes right before a reaction? And the first thing that I did, but I didn't follow through with, was to write down my thoughts after I felt I was triggered. That is what I should have followed through with. So if we hear something in any situation, we could hear something on the news. We could be in a grocery store and overhear a conversation between 2 family members. We could have words that were directed at us. We could hear our friends having a discussion. It could be anything. So journal those thoughts in order to work on processing the emotional reaction to whatever that trigger will be. And I did journal, but I didn't follow through. And I'm a little upset with myself on that. Then it says to identify your story. Okay. What happens that affect, how can I put this in good words? How do things that happen end up feeling like they are about us? So I want to make this an I and me so that I'm not being too facetious here. What is it about me that makes whatever it is that triggered me feel like it was about me? What does it have to say about me? So think about that, because that's what I have to think about. When people are talking, they're not necessarily talking at us or to us. They might be talking around us. But when you jump the gun, like I have done, you take it and you turn it and make it about yourself. Because I think that's what I've done in retrospect. Now, I just want to go on. I'm not going to be specific. I just want to talk about things. Because the fourth point is physical signs. What were my physical signs? Well, I had just started a jigsaw puzzle called Sam's Garage. And I abandoned my puzzle, climbed in my bed, didn't turn the TV on, didn't put a book on, didn't put YouTube on, and just laid there and suffered in my misery. That was my physical reaction to a trigger. And I just want to say that at this stage of the game, things are leveling out, and I think things will be okay. But I have work to do in order to hopefully make that a reality. So, physical signs. Now, how can someone interrupt a reaction to a trigger? Okay, one of the key ways that I can think of immediately is communication. And this idea I am reading, by the way, bullet points, and then I am quickly turning it around to my thoughts. So any responses to a key point are simply thoughts that I have. And I can't help but think that every time something happened in my childhood, it was my fault. Even if it wasn't my fault, it was my fault. Like one day, one of our dogs, we had a Saint Bernard, and he nipped at my sister, Julie. At that time, I was about 12, so Julie couldn't have been any more than 5. And when my stepfather found out that he nipped at her, I got the beating of my life. And all it was is we were playing in the backyard, and dogs, as they can do, get excited. So you got a bunch of little kids running around, screaming, having fun, making lots of noise, running around in circles, jumping up and down. And the dog, in his excitement, jumped up and down, and he nipped at my little sister. He didn't hurt her, but, of course she cried. I mean, why wouldn't she cry? She was a little one. And that made my stepfather so angry. He wasn't mad at the dog. He wasn't mad at my sister. He wasn't mad at my other siblings. But because I was the oldest one outside at the time when it happened, even though I couldn't have been any more than 11 or 12 years old, I got beat so bad that, let's just say, I had to go to the hospital for stitches, okay? So, what am I trying to say? I'm trying to say that when certain things happen, even if they're not about me, my brain takes it there. My brain takes it there. So I was taught to feel that I am responsible for a negative situation, even if it has nothing to do with me. And that experience that I just recounted was part of the way that it was drilled into me that things that happen are my fault. And so it leads me to a processing phase where I have to process through whatever happened because I have to fix whatever it is I broke. And remember the previous point? Somebody might be talking about something that it's about them, but we turn around and we make it about us. Yeah. Pardon me. Yeah. So I took a situation that wasn't about me, made it about me, took blame for it, and I didn't interrupt my reaction long enough to realize that it wasn't about me. And that is point number 5. And I am, by the way, at iPadCoaching.com. Then it says to take deep breaths. And when I read this line, take deep breaths, it makes me think of a phrase, a simple phrase. It's take a beat. You know, that count to 10 type of thing. Think before you speak. Such a simple admonition, but such an effective admonition. Think before you speak or before you act. And what is that key point again? Take deep breaths. So if someone were to take deep breaths after they've experienced an emotional trigger, their reaction time could be slowed down just enough that the end result might come out differently. That's what I think that refers to. Then change the atmosphere. That's the next point. One thing that I've been wanting to do for about 2 weeks now is to watch Home Alone. I love that movie, Home Alone 1. All I needed to do was to get up and make a cup of hot chocolate and enjoy that movie. That if I had changed my atmosphere right at that moment, my reaction to that trigger might not have been so deep. These are learning points that I plan to put into action, effective immediately. What's next is practice thought stopping. Instead of, say, replaying what happened over and over and over again, keeping it fresh. Like, I was reading a book yesterday, and a phrase in the book was, if you pick at an open sore long enough, you will make it bleed. And the character was saying that if you pick at a situation long enough, the situation will just get worse and worse. So I could have changed my thought process. I could have watched Kevin being left home alone, and that would have been a lot of fun. Or another movie that I wanted to see again. What About Bob? Yeah, I could have watched Home Alone or What About Bob and stopped the thought process and practice thought stopping and let the situation go. Could have done those things. So, where does that leave me today? It leaves me to say, okay, I made some mistakes. I jumped the gun. I didn't practice good communication. I did not take a breath. I made something about me that maybe was not meant to be about me. I did not stop long enough to redirect my thinking, and I didn't change the moment. I didn't change the motion. I just kept that negativity going. And that's detrimental for any number of reasons. The first and foremost way is it damages existing relationships. And then on a physical aspect, it caused me to have some insomnia, which now I can't seem to balance. And when I say I can't seem to balance it, is even though I slept last night and I slept the night before, that night that I did not sleep has thrown my system out of balance. And that's a little hard to deal with because I've got stuff to do. It's the end of the month and I need to get my... I want to get my January book reviews done. My goal is to read all my books a month ahead of time and make all those videos, write all those book reviews, schedule everything, and then work on my NetGalley backlog. I have a backlog of about 1,000 books. And I can't attack that backlog if I am reading current books. So if I get my January books read and reviewed, then I can spend all of maybe like the first 2 weeks of January working on that backlog. And then I can start my February books and rinse and repeat, rinse and repeat. But I got myself in the wrong headspace. And because I got myself in the wrong headspace, I kind of fell behind a little bit. So today, I plan to do what I didn't do yesterday. I did make one book review video. But I think I edited it. I think it's sitting there in the queue on YouTube. So yeah, I did a little bit yesterday. But I've got more to do today. I just started a new book by Karen King called The Family Reunion. So I want to finish. I literally just started. I'm probably 1.5%. I didn't get more than, say, 2 pages read. But that's my next book. And, yeah. So I just want to be a better person, you know. I want to follow the example Christ led. And look at his relationship with his apostles, with his family, and see how I can be a better person. On a personal note, regarding the whole thread that followed these whipping chats that I've been doing while working on Trainer Dreams, those are being worked out in the background. And I think good things will come in those situations. And I think I said this yesterday. If I didn't say it, I'll say it now. If we sin against God, we hurt God. And if we fall out with our fellow man, then we cause hurt to our fellow man. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to perpetuate it. Day in and day out, make things worse and worse. I want to be a better person. And I want to have good relationships with people. You know, of course we have to have boundaries, though. You know, find out what those triggers are and put into motion things that will help us to not go down a long, winding, wrong path that leads to hurt feelings and words that may not be able to be taken back, or harsh words that are uttered out of anger. There's just so many things that we could change if we could work within the realm of our capabilities. My capabilities are affected by the traumatic past I have and my reaction to what those triggers are. So my goals are, one of my goals for 2023 is to journal. Okay, I have not been journaling, but I want to journal. And when I start my January journaling, one of the first things I want to do is to identify my big 3 triggers and work on them. And I want to have a discussion with my therapist. I have an appointment tomorrow, I think at 1 o'clock or something like that. But anyway, when I have my appointment with my therapist, I want him to help me to identify those top 3 triggers so that I can work on them. And then I want to try to remember these points, like take a breath, change the thought focus, identify the physical reactions, just, you know, all those wonderful ways that healing can take place. And meanwhile, I want to continue to enjoy my hobbies because I'm loving them. And I want to continue to get my reading and reviewing done and to continue that avenue of my life. I want to continue on in my faith, being a better disciple of Christ and being a better person. I want to be there for my family if they need me for anything, and I just want to be better. I want to do better. So anyway, yesterday I named my whipping chat a little bit of rambling. Today it's been a little bit more centralized, so it's not so rambly, but if I keep talking, guess what? It will become that way. So that is it. Pop one more drill right here really quickly. Get yourself in there. Oh, we're not straight. Why aren't we straight right here? Let's just fix this really quickly. That was a little crooked. Get over there. I'm still not liking it. I don't know how well you can see this, but we're just gonna straighten that line up right there. There we go. It's a little better. Okay, so that's it for now. Thank you so much for watching, and hopefully if I do a whip and chat tomorrow, I can tell you that I made my videos and I wrote my book reviews, because I've got to get that done today or tomorrow. Alrighty, thank you. Have a good one. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.